What's up? It's your boy D Change coming at you with another Daily Dave. It is Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. I said that off the top of my head. Got it right. Bam, accuracy. So today's COVID-19 update. I'm looking at the Bing COVID-19 tracker. I know, right? Bing. Where's that Google site? Where's that? Is that President Trump announced Google site? But are we really at 1,000 fatalities in the States already? I think the majority are concentrated in New York City, so that kind of skews it. I guess if you're in New York City, Governor Cuomo does like a daily brief on the COVID-19 situation. So it looks like they've been looks like New York is kind of getting a handle on things, hopefully. But I already hear that hospitals are kind of overwhelmed. They're reaching their limits already. So hoping for the best from New York. I know it was tough because, I mean, New York City is the most populated area in the States. So unfortunately, it's very easy for everyone to get sick over there. One advantage of being in California is that most of our cities are just kind of sprawling all over the place, and it requires effort for us to get around. So it's a little bit more difficult for us to spread this stuff if it takes that much effort. But I guess all it takes is one sick person just needs to be in a huge party. It's just sweat and spit everywhere and stuff like that. I don't know. It's still a developing story, so still a developing issue. So there's a lot of information and contradictory information and misinformation. So the best you can do is stick to government guidelines, and then keep in touch with your local government. And yeah, I guess if you're willing to do the work, which I don't blame you if you don't want to, it's too much. Sometimes this is just too much. You could listen to multiple, what do you call it? Doctors and experts and stuff like that. Get multiple opinions is what I'm saying. You got some healthcare workers saying this is going to blow over, it's not a big deal, and others are freaking out because they don't have PPE or the protective equipment, so that's really sad. But yeah, at my workplace anyway, the official policy is that if you're asymptomatic, you're still good to go for work, especially if you're an essential employee. That kind of worries me because supposedly, everyone's low risk even if they've been exposed. Kind of have a feeling that could backfire, but we'll see. And we're ramping up like our communications programs and accepting donations and in talks with suppliers and stuff like that. So hopefully our healthcare workers get what they need to do their jobs, and they can feel safe and protected because they're probably in for an intense battle soon. So speaking of I guess getting your info, this screen right here I'm showing off is the Bing COVID-19 tracker. Not something I check very often, actually. I don't know why I went here. I just wanted the numbers or whatever. And that actually brings me to another point, is that was this not the social distancing scoreboard. This is interesting though. There's a website on unicast.com/COVID-19/social-distancing-scoreboard. And here you can check how well your state is doing if you are an American citizen. California, A. Good job, guys. Shelter in place. Making the hard decisions. Oh, we're not in the top 5, though. Damn. Oh, man, there's a bottom 5? That's messed up. Top 5 counties. Right on. Okay, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just like an interesting thing of like, hey, how much? Oh, it's like tracking GPS data or whatever, just to see how much movement there is or distance traveled between states. Generally, yeah, you do want to see. Oh, unexpected error. Great, good job. You do want to see less travel in general. Um, but sometimes you can't help that, man. So what if you live like super far away from markets and stuff? So here's the CDC website. I don't know why I have these tabs open. It was just like one of those things. Okay, I was on I was listening to like a town hall conference call from my congressional representative, district representative, and someone on the call mentioned covidactnow.org. And here you have like the modeling you have models of like the what they're trying to track is like time until hospitals are overloaded, assuming no action. So the red line is at April 12th. Now it's like super scary because if you're looking at this curve, there's like this huge spike, and the thing is expected beds, the line for expected beds is so low that like at some point it just explodes, and then the number of hospitalizations goes so high that you're just like I don't think 800,641 people will fit in a hospital when the expected bed count is, oh man, it even starts at like it only starts like 24,000, and at its peak will be like what, 50,000? 50,000 beds available in California alone. So, but okay, so this huge spike though is assuming that no one does anything. No one does anything. Everyone does nothing, right? So it's kind of a silly, like this is meant to like scare you. It's it's supposed to be like really shocking because we have shelter in place. Um, so here we have social distancing, which is the orange curve, and it still overloads hospitals by over 6 times plus. And that point is reached later in April, but because of the way like logarithmic scales or what do you call it, like the infection rates work, you'll still get a huge bump, and then you'll overload the system, and you'll have like a bunch of people dying and stuff, and then it'll finally fall off. And then we have 3 months of shelter in place, and technically that curve is so low that you can barely see it. And then 3 months of lockdown, which is like Wuhan style lockdown, that's literally like you can't even see it. So I don't know. I don't like when data's modeled this way. Like it looked really interesting at first when I saw it, but I also saw a good counterpoint to it, which was literally like when you have no controls in place to like zero this out. Yeah, when you have no controls in place, this clearly is like just here for like fear mongering. I almost feel like. Well, no, it's good to have the benchmark at least. So the good thing you can glean from this is the fact that, oh, since we are doing something, we're not going to get this. We're not going to get this huge spike. We might even, we might be closer to this like smaller mound, but that's still much better than this, which is like, an absolute disaster. But I don't know about the 3 months of shelter in place and lockdown curves though. Those like I don't like it when, from a visual standpoint, you place so much. Well, okay, no, because if this is an absolute visualization, that's fair and accurate. You can barely see these. Like, can I change this at all? Can I manipulate this? No. Okay, well, better than a relative curve, I guess, because in relative curves you could like, it's that BS where you like change the y-axis data to be like a specific range, and then you can kind of like place the high curve, the medium curve, and the low curves like really close to each other, so it looks like they're actually not that different, but that would be lying. So I don't know. I just got like I just saw some tweets. Maybe I should just stop looking at tweets, right? I just saw some tweets kind of criticizing this modeling for being like political, and I can understand why. It's it's kind of messed up, but at the same time, I don't know, offer a better alternative, I guess. If you're in California, I believe Governor Newsom is doing a semi-regular briefing on what's going on. The sad thing is I have no idea where these actually originally get streamed. I'm just finding these on YouTube. So it's there. So like Cuomo, Newsom, they're at least, I want to say they're it looks like they're putting in the effort to help out and contain this. So that's nice. It's a little comforting if that's, that's the image you want to see. Yeah, and here's a COVID-19 website in California, covid19.ca.gov. Things to do: stay at home, wash hands with soap and water for 20 seconds, at least 20 seconds. Cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue. This is interesting to me because like I don't think tissue is like, I don't think it blocks your snot, but I guess it's better than nothing. Like they say coughing into your sleeve is not as effective, but that's because you're leaving it on yourself. But then with a tissue, you throw it away. But the thing is, when you blow your nose, I mean, come on, you can feel the tissue getting wet. So you're supposed to wash your hands after every single like session with tissue or something like that. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces. I want to preserve my wipes. I tend to just pretend my hands are dirty whenever I'm not handling food, or like, so I pretend if I'm like working on the computer or like doing stuff, my hands have been soiled. So then I wash the hands prior to a meal and then after a meal, go back to doing what I'm doing, and then assume like within seconds it's dirty again, and then try not to touch my face. Hopefully, knock on wood, that's all good. But yeah. And then if soap and water aren't available, use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Yeah, every time I go out to like pick up stuff now, I try not to touch too much stuff, but then like I get my stuff, pay for it, and then if there's contactless payment, great, I love it, adapt that technology. But then I'll go to my car, and then like I'll load everything, and then like get the key ready, and then right before I'm like ready to start the car and drive off, I squirt some of that hand sanitizer, and I do the full treatment around the hands. Same motions as when I'm washing my hands, but just rubbing the alcohol everywhere. I have heard that you kind of need to rub it in, or you need to make sure it's like actually properly coating your hands to do any work. So take your time, basically. Like don't just rub it and be like, all right, I'm done, and then like wipe it off yourself or whatever. It's inconvenient, I know, but like I was like, I gotta really work it in there. My hands felt still like wet for like a minute, and I just let it dry off. Don't shake hands. Like there's no more time for politeness now, right? Don't touch your face. Don't go to the doctor if you aren't sick. Don't stockpile masks or gloves. Sad, because we could have ramped up production of these things earlier, but whatever. Don't go to the doctor if you aren't sick. This makes sense if like going to like primary care and everyone's sick there. Like I don't know, my dad needs to go see a specialist, and I think he might still be able to go. I don't know, we're gonna have to talk it over, but it seems like he might really want to go because he's got some other problems to check out. I was listening to Max Brooks on NPR's Fresh Air. He was being interviewed by Terry Gross, and he wrote World War Z, and I think he also wrote the Zombie Survival Guide, which I do have. Is that right? Max Brooks. Yeah, he did write that. I read that a while back. And so what's interesting about his books, because he's coming out with a new one. That's why he was on NPR's Fresh Air. He likes to write about like pandemics or like preparedness for situations, but he puts it in like anecdote form with these like zombie things. And so it was a pretty interesting interview. I generally liked it because I liked that he explained what federal government's role is supposed to be in a situation like this, and how unfortunately it was, I think most like experts you would talk to would agree that federal government response to this wasn't so great. And it was interesting to hear about what he knew, or at least what he understood from his relationships and research that he did for his books, because he did a lot of research on pandemics and pandemic preparedness. And so the idea, and it sucks because like hearing this just makes it like worse, so to speak. But like the idea was that we had a lot of these plans in place, or like we have government groups that are supposed to do stuff like this, take care of us in these trying times. But that all needs to be authorized by like the president or the administration, and just didn't work out that way. So it was interesting. It was an interesting listen. I would recommend giving that a gander, giving that a listen. It just came out yesterday, so pretty good. And he said, yeah, all of this could have been prevented. And yeah, I think most people who have been kind of following this closely would agree. Like, if it had just been shut down early, like if you just stopped the flights and monitored the people that you needed to monitor, keep them in isolation, and then just made sure they couldn't infect anyone else anymore, I think could have snuffed this out pretty early. But I know it's it's one of those difficult situations, because it's like it was a developing, the dynamic situation is what everyone likes to use to like explain why we're not sure what we're supposed to do. And I can totally see someone like making a wrong call and then being liable for it. That is, such as the politics of a lot of business bureaucracy, and I would assume government bureaucracy too. It's a lot of leadership that doesn't want to take responsibility or like be held accountable, and that's very unfortunate, because I feel like that's like a sign of like saving face. That I don't know. I'm an idealist though. I tend to think people would do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, but I guess I forget people don't do that. So they'd rather look good than save a few lives or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, that was an interesting listen. I don't know. Was there anything else that was like super interesting about it? I just liked how he detailed kind of the actual government process that's supposed to happen, like the relationship between the federal government and the private industry sector, in how they would mobilize a response to something like this. Oh, it was the fact that like there's a lot of criticisms about like just like the mask messaging, the whole like masks don't work. Like from a scientific standpoint, yes, like the microbes are smaller than the mask holes, but the whole idea of mask safety is if you have high compliance of mask wearing, as in, like 80 to 90% of your population wears masks during flu season, you actually reduce like transmission rates really well, because everyone's like preventing droplets from flying everywhere. I mean, this is one of those like little magic Japan things, right? Like I'm sure Japan has so many cases. They just are kind of hiding it because they don't want to they don't want to blow the lid on Tokyo 2021 now. The Olympics have been postponed for 1 year. Thank goodness, and finally, because I don't think summer's gonna happen this year, guys. I don't think we're getting out of this before Easter, or I don't think we're reopening for Easter. Oh, these are my notes. And then I just heard that like the Senate is adjourning until April 20th, 420 blaze it. And I was like, are you serious? But it's because they actually did pass a bill. The Senate agreed finally. I don't know if it's like super good or not. I haven't taken a close look. I just know that there's a lot of fighting between the Democrats and the Republicans in trying to like shoehorn things, because it's an emergency response time. And I just find that like it just really sucks, because it seems like they're taking hostage the American people to push their agendas, Like, what we really need right now is like an actual response to the pandemic and the effects of shutting down the economy. But, because of the way legislation works, you're allowed to just like tack these things on. I mean, I get it. Like, how else are we going to do it, right? I know a lot of people in this country don't want, say like, I don't know, like a one-party system, or like, hey, let's just let's just pass it without the people's vote, or it's not even the people's vote. It's our representatives. I don't know. We could. I see that on a spectrum rather than like as one or the other. Um. So yeah, it just sucks that like, hey, since we know this is an emergency situation, we should put in this policy that isn't really related to pandemic recovery. And there's some policies that like are slightly related, but then it's like this would never pass in a normal situation. So I feel like that's the reason why it took so long. That's why there's a lot of fighting. That's why people are just like really up in arms and all that jazz. So it's exhausting, man. Man, I don't know if I could ever be a politician. Like just hearing about all this like BS that they have to go through. It's ridiculous. Yeah, so I think that's about it on the COVID-19 update. Yeah, I was just kind of like worried. I don't know. Like my dad was feeling a little not so great today, but I think that was like something else rather than like actual virus going around stuff. But we'll see. I had to go out again today to go get some like bread. So I'm always always resetting that counter, dude. Every 14, like every time I go out, it's like 14 more days, man. But I don't know. I'm trying to keep clean and stay safe and stuff like that. And yeah, I haven't like walked around in a while, man. Like today I parked somewhere and I was like there's like there's a supermarket on one side of the parking lot and then like the bakery on like the way over on the other side, and I was like, I'm gonna park at the supermarket, go in and check for paper towels. There were none, and then I was like, I'm walking to the bakery, but then like a breeze came and it was like cold. But yeah, I just felt like I actually I was listening to another show that was saying like this is definitely a time where like fake introverts are getting snuffed out. Like if you're an extrovert but you're like you pretend to be an introvert. Cause yeah, realistically, I haven't felt that affected by this. Like I don't normally work from home, but like I've adjusted okay. Like yeah, sure, conference calls and like Zoom meetings are a little inconvenient at times, just like because people can talk over each other. There's like noise in the background, but you know what? Generally, it's fine. It's similar to how I would take meetings normally, and I kind of like the fact that like someone can't just like all of a sudden barge over into my working space and be like, "Hey, I need you to do this right now." But then instead, you get more urgent and like almost passive aggressive sounding emails. So I don't know. I don't know what's worse, right? But I've been dealing with it okay. I know I have a friend who was kind of saying like I'm getting cabin fever already, like a couple days in. So yeah, I understand. I understand the struggle. It's just I definitely see myself kind of being okay with just like this life. Definitely not forever. But so far so good. And yeah, like calling someone to check up on them. Like I called my older sister today, so that was nice. That's something I wouldn't normally do. Not sure if I should be stating something like that, but yeah, like setting up video calls with friends that want to catch up, or even keeping something regular scheduled is nice because it helps you get through the day or gives you something to look forward to after the workday. But some of these days have felt longer, just purely from the fact that like, oh, now I know that like, I don't think anyone's doing it out of malicious intent. I think it's just the fact that information is updating so much faster now that like we have to really push a lot of this stuff out really quickly, and leadership will expect something of you, and so people are like more willing to text you out of like normal hours and stuff like that. Understandable. But I see why there are complaints about the digital age and how we never truly escape the office, so to speak. But I don't know. I personally have like my own boundary when it comes to that. It's just like, hey, you know what? I'll get back to you tomorrow. But then there's some people who like can't handle that. I know I have a previous boss who I feel like if you tried to do that to him, you're on his you're on the chopping block really quick. So just really depends on the people you work with, I guess. So yeah, we're all tired, we're all restless, we're all trying to figure out how to fill out the time in our days. Or some of us are like super busy and have everything settled, and that's great, you know? It's real cool. I'm jelly. But yeah, definitely hoping for more positive outcomes. Um, Hoping people are staying sane and staying healthy. And again, my thoughts are with the people who have lost their jobs, have loved ones in the hospital for this. Hope they're doing all right. Hope our healthcare workers are doing all right. I hope grocery store workers and other essential personnel out in, taking our food orders, still serving the rest of society. I hope they're all right, staying healthy, and not burning out. So yeah, remember to wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Call a loved one today or tomorrow morning. I don't know. Text someone you haven't texted in a while and be like, hey, just wanted to check in on you and see how you're doing. How are you faring in these crazy times, right? Because this is a time where it's actually like a global thing. I mean, I know that not every country is handling it the same way, but I think this is on a lot of people's minds now across the globe. And this is one of those times where it's like, hey, we should all unite as the human race to deal with this. And there's always going to be people who are going to be like, no, I'm special, or I'm not one of those people. But you can't do anything about it, except maybe show them compassion and hopefully win them over in the end. But yeah, we're all in this together. I know it sucks, and I hope we learn from it. I hope our governments learn from it, because I think a lot of us personally and individually are learning a lot from this. So you would expect as much from the people who represent us, who govern us, so to speak. But yeah, that was it. I'm running out of topics to talk about these days, you can tell. No, that was just the things on my mind today. Yeah, I'll try to pull up that list of like projects I want to work on or interesting thoughts I've had. And then we can go over some cool stuff like that. Cool or not cool, I don't know. Or you could also let me know how you're doing, or what kind of interesting things you've been pondering these days. So, I gotta stop touching my face. My face itches all the time. Okay, I can't help it. Anyway, stay safe, stay healthy, stay clean, and yeah, have a good one. Peace out.